Hello and welcome to CNBC Africa's coverage of the New York Forum for Africa. I'm Wale Famrewa. This year's event brings together politicians, economic decision makers and investors to discuss the hard work needed to make Africa's economic potential a reality. Why is Africa attractive today? Statistics tell the story. Africa has billions of barrels of proven oil reserves and 60% of the world's unused arable land. It's a continent with over 1 billion people, with a workforce that will be larger than China's by 2040. The inaugural New York Forum Africa was about recognizing Africa's economic achievements and understanding the opportunities for business and investors. This year's conference takes the conversation forward.
In fact, we started the New York Forum itself in New York 4 years ago. And this was built on the assumption that the global economy was really suffering, and we wanted to make a call to action. A call to action to try to find solutions to the major issues that the global economy is facing, and was facing, and still facing, to be honest. But unfortunately, during the past 3 years, one very important part of the world was missing: Africa. It's very difficult for African leaders sometimes to come to the US for visa reasons, or even because of the very expensive cost of travel. So my commitment as being a citizen of that continent, born in Morocco, North Africa, I decided to create a platform in Africa. So the president of Gabon, His Excellency President Ali Bongo Ondimba, took the initiative to create this platform, the New York Forum Africa, and to make it as a catalyst which will include, of course, political leaders, decision makers, but also young entrepreneurs.
Hosting the New York Forum Africa is a precious opportunity for my country, Gabon, and a chance for Africa at large. What can we expect from the forum's second edition? First of all, we expect it to be as successful and innovative as last year's edition, when 700 business leaders from all over the world gathered in Libreville to discuss the economic rise of Africa. To share ideas. This is probably the most accurate way to describe the New York Forum's Africa's mission. The forum generates discussions that lead to pragmatic and effective proposals in a context that fosters relationship building and business. In today's global world, political and business leaders need to sit around a table and serenely, yet determinedly, discuss and find the best ways to solve the greatest challenges of our times.
So when we look at what we have achieved in the past 12 months, the first edition was really listing opportunities and bringing to Africa people who never visited the continent. We were very happy to have not just few Chinese who heard about Africa for years, but not the big champions. Young companies, young talents from China, but also from America, from Latin America, from the Arab world, the Gulf countries, and also, which is a great paradox, some African who were visiting for the first time a sister country. And by co-optation, they are bringing more people. Last year we were 500, this year will be 1,000 people who will attend the conference. Last year we had one head of state in addition of President Bongo, President of Benin. This year, 10 African head of states. Even the extraordinary session of the CEMAC head of state region will be organized during the New York Forum Africa. So it's definitely now time to implement.
The opening discussion at the forum was labeled "The Road to a New Independence." The panelists sought to make the case for greater freedom in how African countries craft their political and economic futures.
There is that need for us as countries in Africa to look inward and to make decisions and not to allow other people to define us and decide for us. So that's very important. What happened in my country, Rwanda, perhaps because we had hit the bottom, was that we wanted to talk amongst ourselves. What kind of constitution do we want? How do we move forward with such complicated matters as justice after a genocide? What do women in this country want? What should we do to open up to our neighbors? What does integration mean for us? So we took time to go through the country and get views so that we reach a level of appropriation, a level of ownership of what happens to the country. So it's very important. The investment Rwanda made in education, in technology, for example, in empowering women, was a result of a national consultation. So since we're talking about independence and the road traveled by our countries, 50 years on, we realize that independence is much more than our national flags waving in the wind and our singing national anthems. It's much more about who we are, and have we been able 50 years on to say, I am Gabonese, I am Rwandese, this is what I want, and I might need help, I might want to work with my neighbors, I might want to integrate in the global world, but this is what I want. And I think we still have a way to go.
We're a continent that, following the independence, has been cut in small pieces. And if you take out, some of the major countries, we have small market that are pulling, linked together. So we need infrastructure, we need regional integrations. I think we need to be able to link this market together to be able to create more consumptions, to grow a middle class. There's an aspect that is lacking, and I'm glad that we don't have the head of state yet, because I think leadership in Africa is definitely something that one needs to see improve in terms of its overall and long-term vision on the continent. Definitely the image of Africa and the perception of the risk is just amazing how, when you look at the media outside Africa, and the perception of Africa is only a place where there's conflict, a place where there's poor things here and there. There are great people on this continent. There's great people that have achieved quite a lot, in terms of what could be done. And EcoBank is one story about this, about few people getting together and decided to create something which would foster regional integrations.
The destiny of Africa is going to be controlled primarily by Africans. But we cannot ignore the fact that the international community is going to play an increasingly important role around Africa, because they're taking a greater interest in Africa. And so I've called before, and I'll call here, for the African Union to think seriously about an investment code to govern investment into Africa, which sets African expectations of foreign investors into Africa. And there's this long debate, Madam Chairman, about the Chinese, for example. Is it good for the Chinese to invest $9 billion into the DRC and build infrastructure for copper and those sorts of processes? And obviously the question is not whether we want to stop that type of investment, but what framework exists around which that investment takes place, what local training takes place, what local investment, what local communities, who benefits, what is the governance process around these type of investments. And I think it's very important that the African Union thinks hard about an investment code for Africa.
Former African leaders expressed the need for a peaceful and integrated Africa.
I see one factor that joins them together, and that, for me, is democracy, good governance, popular participation, and justice. Now, if you have that, and those are different sides of the same coin, democracy, good governance, popular participation, performance, and all that. Now, if you have all that, to me, you are likely to be able to deal with the issue of peace and security, and you are, of course, likely to get the economy economic development, growth, and social welfare and well-being going.
The conflict within Africa is a stumbling block towards economic development. It's a stumbling block towards greater integration. It's a stumbling block towards greater cooperation. On the side of democracy, at least 20 countries in sub-Saharan Africa is being classified by Freedom House in New York as totally unfree. You cannot have integration and closer cooperation and working towards a goal of an integrated Africa unless you overcome these stumbling blocks. Therefore, peacemaking should, to my mind, be one of the main focuses of the African Union. And not lofty ideals just of African unity. Peacemaking, we can only become a more united Africa once all of us embrace the same values and support and strive for the same goals.
The African continent opens up many opportunities for multinationals. They express their views on how African leaders could support the future growth of international and local businesses.
The voice growth is happening, but it could happen much more if the small towns and villages get much more GDP growth. That's one issue which politicians and governments and of course industry have to handle, that the trickling down of GDP has to happen from urban to suburban and suburban to small towns, villages, etc., which happened all over Asia and especially India. I've seen it. It takes about 10 years to happen, and that I think is happening too slowly in Africa, which is not a good news, because if that happens faster, voice will grow faster.
But the focus for us as Shoreline is to create an African oil and gas champion that will champion the name of Africa right across the spaces of Africa in countries like Nigeria, in Gabon, Congo Brazzaville, Angola, Equatorial Guinea, Ghana, and Ivory Coast. This for us is important. If we could energize and build a platform business on this level, we could be compared to any giant anywhere in the world. And this is the true form of what governments should try to encourage by promoting laws that enables us as Africans to benefit from the natural resources from our continent.
After the break, we bring you more from the New York Forum Africa. Stay with us.